Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Review. So welcome to the channel. As promised in a previous video, today I'm going to be covering whether or not you should wait for a 2022 Bronco. And I'm also going to be looking at the question that's sort of going around some media sources, some major media sources, of Broncos being sold out for the next 2.5 years, 2.5 years of being sold out. Is this true? What's the real deal behind that news? Well, I can tell you right off. I'm going to answer that fully in this video. I'm going to tell you right off. That's partially true and, well, mostly not true. And that depends on your area, your situation. So I'll explain that all in the video coming up. So I'm going to be answering those two very important questions. Whether you should wait for a 2022 Bronco, and of course, what's really going behind this whole Broncos being sold out for 2.5 years news. And if you watch to the end, I promise I'm going to give some very solid car advice. It applies to cars, it applies to trucks, and really it's just solid life advice. So you're going to want to watch to the end. Now, it really helps me out if you click like early on, and if you want to have more videos like this, please go ahead, subscribe, hit the notification button, that's the little bell. And just to let you know, what do I do on this channel? Well, of course, I cover a whole lot of Bronco news. I really get into the deep news, really let you know what's really going on, because, well, I'm sorry, but major media sources sometimes just put out news that has just a tiny bit of shred of truth so they can still maintain credibility, but that they don't flush out what's really going on. You could say it's kind of clickbait. Now, what's more, and I will be covering that in this video, of course. Now, what's more, I'm standing in front of my two Mustangs because part of my channel also is about flipping Mustangs, well, to make money, because I'm going to have to pay for this Bronco when it comes in. It won't pay for itself. So I've got this Bronco that I bought, I've got this Mustang that I bought this year to cover some payments on the Bronco. And I also have the Mustang in the back that I bought last year. The one in the back I could flip at any time and make money with, because, I shopped it, I fixed it up, and I'm having trouble really selling it. So in the meantime, I bought another Mustang that will hurt the heart a little less. And the whole point of flipping cars is to have a whole lot of fun doing it. That way, if you don't make money, well, at least you had a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to be covering everything from how to inspect a used vehicle, how to fix up a used vehicle so that it's appealing and that you can really make a little bit of money with it. And I generally do car reviews. So, I'm covering a lot of reviews on Ford cars and trucks. So now let's put the pedal to the metal and jump right into answering those two very important questions. Okay, so before heading back to the office, where there'll be, of course, a little bit less bird noise, let's cover the question that kills. This whole news that's been released that Ford has sold out Broncos for 2.5 years. Now, they tried to present this as positive news. So you've got Detroit News and you have other media sources trying to tell you that Broncos are sold out for 2.5 years. Now, what's really going on? Broncos are not sold out for 2.5 years. If you just look at the very simple math, there is a shred of truth to this. Ford has sold 125,000 orders of Broncos, give or take. And this year, they're going to make somewhere between 50 and, some would speculate as many as 90,000 Broncos. But, here's a good piece of news. As of today, Friday, the Ford Michigan plant is pumping out 310 Broncos a day. Now, that would make, if they continue at this pace, it would make for about 50,000 this year. Will they kick it up and get those numbers up to, will they double them almost, so we can have, about 550 to 500 Broncos being built every day? And will we have 100,000 Broncos? Well, either way, this is the piece of news that big media is using to try to convince you, or try to let you know that Broncos are sold out for 2.5 years, because they're just looking at simple math. They're saying, hey, Ford's going to build 50 to 100,000 Broncos this year. Let's assume they do about 50 to 100,000 next year. Well, based on their math, if you take the lower end, the safe number, 50,000 per year, and there's been 125,000 sold, then yeah, It sold out for 2.5 years. But that's just not how Broncos are going to be going out to dealers. You know, a lot of Broncos got sold with those reservations to major cities, and Ford can't just have, you know, 5 or 10 major cities getting all the Broncos. They got to get them all across the US and Canada. So I've been saying this since January. Dealers have allotments. They get a certain amount of Broncos promised to them every single year, and they get this for all models. And this is what allows Broncos to be spread out. So, you know, there are currently, they're rare, but there's even some dealers that still have 2021 Bronco allotments to sell. That means if you go to that dealer and they still have an allotment, which is a promise from Ford to build a Bronco, and you buy a Bronco, well, you'll get a Bronco in 2021. And here's another little piece of advice. Some people are going to get tired of waiting, and they're just going to cancel altogether. And the dealer is quite possibly and very likely going to keep that order in the system. And when that Bronco does show up, so let's say someone cancels this month. Now, if the Bronco shows up in 2, 3, or 4 months, that means that dealer is going to have an available Bronco. So keep your eyes peeled. Generally, you know, you're going to have to call your local dealers and just let them know you want to be on a list, and you want them to call you as soon as, you know, there's a chance to put a deposit down on a Bronco that they'll be receiving. And if you want to be picky and you want a certain model of Bronco, well, make sure you tell them that specification. But don't expect there to be very many of these Broncos going into inventory by more or less accident. So back to that news that Broncos are sold out for 2.5 years. Dealers get promises for builds, and yes, some dealers are getting, you know, 700 Bronco orders and are only going to be getting about 200 a year. So there will be the occasional dealer that's sold out for even 3 years already. And you've got to keep an eye on that. Picking the right dealer is very important. You need to ask, how many allotments do you have for 2021 or 2022? And ask them, you know, if I order now, where do I fall? Do I fall as a 2022 production model year? Do I fall as a 2023 production? Really important to know that the dealer you're going to be shopping at, where they are for Bronco allotments. So really important questions to ask, and this is going to help you buy a Bronco, because as we know, you don't simply just order a Bronco. There's a process, and you know, I've been working on this since January. It does sometimes feel like I'm dealing with complexities, as if I'm doing calculus or whatnot, but I promise the goal of this channel is always to be helpful, and I've been doing all this to try to help you all get a Bronco, because my goal is to, you know, see you on the trails, do a little bit of off-roading. I don't want to be off-roading on my own by myself, and I'd rather be off-roading with Bronco people than Jeep people. You know, the day will go smoother and there'll be less arguments. So now let's head to the office and deal with that last question. Should you wait for a 2022 Bronco? Because there are benefits, it is very enticing, and there is reason that you might really want to consider deliberately turning your 2021 Bronco into a 2022. So let's go look at that right now. So let's start, before we head back to the office where be a little less bird noise, let's start with really the question that is killing me at the moment, and that's the whole, you can't have a Bronco for 2.5 years. That is some very discouraging news. So basically, Detroit News, different media sources came out and said that Ford has pre-sold for 2.5 years, and they try to present this as, so before we head to the office and have a little bit less bird noise in the background, I just want to cover the question that's really bothering me the most at the moment, and that's well,